On the biggest stage in the world, FanDuel is changing the game because sometimes your player gets subbed off and your bet goes with them. Not anymore. With FanDuel Super Sub, if your player's subbed out, your bet stays in. That's right. If your player leaves the match, your bet continues on with the substitute. So you're still in it until the final whistle. Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
21 plus select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus DCKYWY. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Call 800-327-5050. Massachusetts. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 877-770-7867. Louisiana.
Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, everybody, on this Friday night, it's an empty night. I don't have my Stanley Cup final, which, by the way, we've been talking about the Knicks and the Spurs, and I get it completely. Incredible series. Incredible. Despite like a team being up 3-1, every game has been insane, right? Knicks come back in game 1 to win. Then game 2, when Biana misses a 20-footer, which, again, is like a 2-inch putt for any golfer. So that was interesting. Then game 3, Trump attends, and then because the Spurs win, then Stephen A. Smith and others say that only because Trump was in the building, they messed with the mojo, baby, which is utterly ridiculous. And then game 4, down 29. And the Spurs, thinking they're, down 29, start hoisting threes instead of running a decent offense, going to the rim, drawing some fouls. They gave that game away. And the Knicks, obviously get credit for coming back. But in the end, that shot by Brunson, which is basically half court, and then OB comes in with that tip. If they win this series, that's the type of thing that it's an infamy kind of moment, because that decided the series, basically. I mean, this series should be 3-1 Spurs. Think about it. Wemby makes that shot in game 2, which he should have and did not. He always makes that shot. So then it's 1-1. Then game 3 finds Spurs won that. I'm not going to say decisively, but, it never was in doubt in the fourth quarter, it felt like. And then game 4, you're up 29. Should be 3-1 Spurs going back to San Antonio right now. So I don't think this series is over. People say, well, mentally, the Spurs are shot. They blew a 29-point lead. What are they going to do? They're a weird team. They're almost like AI. They're going to just reform themselves, regenerate, as they say in Terminator 2, and then just, I could very easily see them winning game 5 in some weird way. And then it comes back here, which I think as a Knicks fan, while you want to get this thing done and win your first championship in 53 years, would it be the worst thing in the world if game 6 here, you won it at home, and then see any 8-block radius around 33rd Street, around Madison Square Garden, just every cab and every possible public entity be destroyed, which will happen. Knicks fans have been horrible, but not the good ones, not the people there to watch the games, the people on the periphery who just hang outside their arenas so they could, cause havoc. It is not reflected well at all on New York. Like, you make Philly look like a really, really friendly place for fans compared to what we've seen over the last couple of nights. But, it's Mem Donnie's New York, and what more can you say? Meanwhile, Austin Metcalf's parents are now getting death threats. Austin Metcalf is dead. He was stabbed multiple times in the heart by Carmelo Anthony, not the one that played for the Knicks, but a high school kid who decided to sit under a tent of the opposing team during a track meet. And when asked to leave, not once, not twice, not 10 times, but 15 times, would not leave. When finally, being escorted out, decided to stab the person, Austin Metcalf, in the heart with his twin brother watching, killing the kid right there in the stands of a high school track meet. And now we're seeing people like Jasmine Crockett saying that, well, I would have done the same thing as Carmelo Anthony. You're an elected official, a congresswoman, saying that, oh, well, boy, Carmelo was being attacked by Austin Metcalf, and he was defending himself. No, he wasn't. Not even close. Not even close. Nothing to anything. Tried to escort the kid out. There wasn't a fist fight. It wasn't a fight to the death where you had to stab the guy. Nothing like that happened. One boy murdered another boy. And now the parents who are grieving over their kid being murdered at a track meet in high school now have to deal with death threats. This is just like that maniac, Alex Jones, who said that the Sandy Hook parents were actors and the kids that were shot actually weren't shot. It was all staged for gun control or something, right? And if you are a fan of Alex Jones and you're like, oh, Joe, why are you attacking him? Well, screw you, all right? You don't want to listen? Change the channel. I swear to God, change the station. Go ahead. Never come back. If you support Alex Jones, I do not want you listening to this particular show. Because what he did to those parents who lost their children, who were executed. I got kids in elementary school. All right. The fact that these kids were killed the way they were. And then we got to hear about, oh, they're actually child actors. And the parents also actors from Alex Jones. What a joke. And that's what's happening now to the Metcalfs. Right. These parents who can't just grieve. No. Now they're getting death threats. Why? Why them? They've already lost their son. What did they do exactly? That's what's happening. Because of people like Angela Rye, former CNN, of course, commentator here in cut number 1, saying that, oh, Carmelo was simply defending himself. Yeah, right. Cut number 1, go.
This was always about race.
Mm-hmm.
It was always about race.
No,
it was always about race. The moment that a black boy had the nerve to protect himself against a white aggressor, it was always about race. And I think that we do ourselves a disservice at ever hopefully changing this system if we cannot acknowledge that.
This is the kind of stuff, guys, that we're hearing out there from former CNN commentators. Carmelo Anthony was not defending himself. He wasn't punched. There's not a mark on his face, on his body. Not one confrontation happened outside of, can you leave, please, 15 times. And when you have to put a hand on somebody and be like, dude, you're out of here. You stab the person in the heart. What are you doing with a knife in the first place at a track meet? Anybody want to bring that up? Angela Rye? Why did she even come with a knife? Why? Who does that? Who does that? That's the why here. Why were you armed? Just like Alex Preddy, Minneapolis, January, confronted ICE on several occasions, physically kicked in their taillights, kicked in their doors, middle finger, the whole thing. And then when ICE said, hey, you got to get out of here, he got into a physical confrontation with them while armed with a gun and then was shot. And then we have to hear that he was executed. He was murdered. No, you don't bring a gun to a fight with federal law enforcement when you clearly provoke them. And then when someone sees a gun, something bad could happen. Same exact effing thing. And that's exactly what happened here. Oh, man. Meanwhile, Hakeem Jeffries, we love playing clips of him. Well, here we go. But, I mean, here he's saying that California elections are totally secure. They are clean. There's nothing wrong with what you're seeing now in California, where the third place finisher in the LA mayor's race, down 9 points to Spencer Pratt, suddenly has a surge of mail-in ballots, more than the first place finisher, another Democrat in Karen Bass. Suddenly, Nithya Raman is the it girl when it comes to mail-in ballots. And here is Hakeem saying that those are secure. But, if we lose the midterms, it's because Trump rigged it. He actually says this in the same sentence, and it's why Hakeem is garbage. That's what we do know. Cut number 5, go.
There is no election fraud in California. Donald Trump is making it up. He can't point to a shred of evidence to prove his point. This is all a conspiracy theory. We believe that we have to operate under the assumption that Republicans are going to do everything they can to try to rig the midterm elections. Because the reality is they have no track record of accomplishment, no vision to present to the American people.
When you think of garbage, think of Hakeem.
Thank you, Kevin. So let's get this straight. California does not rig their elections, despite a lot of people saying, well, why does it take? I don't know. The election was on June 2nd. Here we are 10 days later, and we will not have the final results until after July 4th. 5 weeks. I've made this point. I'll make it again. on nights of presidential elections when tens of millions of votes are cast in Florida, far more than California, especially for a mayor's race or gubernatorial race over in California. We know by 10 p.m. who won in Florida. We know by the next morning what the final results are. Why is that? Oh, that's right. They count their votes competently. Why does it take 5-6 weeks in California to count votes? Whether we're talking about governor's races, mayor races, congressional races, they are an embarrassment, a laughing stock to the entire world. And I'll make this point till I'm blue in the face. I'm actually literally blue in the face right now. In India, in 2024, 642 million votes were cast. And by breakfast the next morning, you knew exactly who won that race and the final results. Why can they do that in California, the biggest state in this country? Can't do it. In 5 to 6 weeks. It's an absolute joke. Meanwhile, there's going to be some porta potties at the UFC event at the White House. Not just some, like when I had a party at the Jersey Shore, I called it the Sundress Fest. And in Seagirt, New Jersey, right near the Parker House. Some of you know this if you're listening. I had this party called the Sundress Fest. 500 people showed up. We had a live band, open bar, the whole thing. It was quite fun. 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8. It was a nice run. Anyway, the point is that I had 5 porta potties. Right, 5. At the UFC event on the south lawn of the White House, they're going to have 494. Scott Jennings comes to a very interesting conclusion on this. Cut number 8, go.
And the UFC says that they're going to be footing the bill, which includes the new octagon cage, which is very visible in the back of the White House, and a substantial amount of perishable food and as many as 494 porta potties. But that still doesn't mean that there has been no taxpayer money spent on this and other logistics. This continues to be one of the more perplexing things happening at the White House. I do wonder, Scott, why? Why are we doing this?
494 porta potties.
That's a lot of porta potties.
Somewhere Graham Plattner's booking an airline
$60 million.
Oh, does Abby have to talk over everybody? So the whole, punchline there, if you could hear it, is that somewhere Graham Plattner is booking an airline ticket. Because if there's porta potties, he really, really likes those things as far as certain adventures that he has with himself in those places. But anyway, before we go to break, you got to hear this. Because Markwayne Mullin goes off on Zohran Mamdani, thank God, in terms of ICE being completely and totally not welcome here in New York. And Markwayne Mullin, who's now the new DHS secretary, had some thoughts on this that we have to share before we go to break. Cut number 12, go.
You spoke about Mayor Mamdani and sanctuary cities. How do you envision the operations from your department in New York or other sanctuary cities as compared to what happened in Minnesota or California prior to you being secretary?
When you take somebody like Mamdani, who is just this radical socialist, this anti-law enforcement, anti-police, it's shameful because NYPD is awesome. They're phenomenal to work with. They have the best crowd procedures. They have the best law enforcement agency. I'd put them up against just about any city around the country. And they have a pride about them of doing so. But you got a mayor that's not allowing them to do their job. And it's shameful. All these guys in the NYPD, they just want to go to work. They want to do something that they feel like they were called to do. And they're great at it. But they got a leader that's handcuffing them. And hopefully people in New York will wise up and get a true leader in there in a few years.
There you go. And that's the thing, right? How does Zohran Mamdani possibly explain that ICE is not allowed in New York City? I get that the far left, they're Nazis or they're stormtroopers or whatever. But in the end, let's talk about this. Rapist. We're talking about murderers. We're talking about child molesters and sex traffickers, gang members. And Zohran Mamdani wants them all to stay? Like, again, can we have a New York media that challenges this guy on this stuff? Nope, never. Oh, no, he makes a statement, and every reporter there just nods their head. Yeah, that's great. Good job. It is not good for this city. Markwayne Mullin knows it. And thankfully, could you imagine if Kamala Harris won? All this stuff would get a complete and total permission slip. The Trump administration's going to make sure that doesn't happen. And maybe the Vance administration, if not the Rubio administration, certainly will continue law and order in terms of enforcement, in terms of ICE. J.D. Vance is going to go on The View on Tuesday. No, really, he is. He has a new book out. And now people are saying, why are you going on The View? I'll explain why. It's an outstanding idea by the vice president when we come back on WABC and on stations around the country, around the world in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. So, Hassan Piker, very, very upset because he actually put up, $6,500 for tickets to the Knicks game. And because this guy actually thinks he's a celebrity, like Jerry Seinfeld's there and Spike Lee is there and I don't know, Fallon's there, and who else is a big Knick fan, Kevin, that's always at games? I should probably have this off the top of my head.
Chalamet,
Taylor Swift was there, right? So, but
Ben Stiller.
Hassan Piker, Ben Stiller, thank you, Ben Stiller, of course. Here's Hassan Piker in cut number 15 saying that he paid all this money and they wouldn't mention me on the list of celebrities. How dare they? Cut number 15, go.
The broadcast last night, as you guys know, Will was inebriated. He came over here and he beat my ass. And he demanded that we go to Madison Square Garden, which we did. We had dumped a decent amount of money for these seats that weren't, like, technically nosebleed seats, but they weren't great either. It was like a weird angle.
How
it was
weird?
like a weird,
yeah.
you know, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a weird angle.
Fascinating
Okay.
podcast.
Did you say hi to Taylor? Yeah, no, I did not. I didn't. I was not mentioned in the celebrities that were invited.
And
I was not mentioned in the celebrities that were invited to watch the game list either.
Why would you?
It was a strange vantage point. Here, I'll show you.
All right,
Kev,
I can't take it. He literally has like a chart of where he sat. $6,500. That's weird. He's a socialist. How do you have that kind of money? What about the poor people? You imagine all the mouths you could feed with $6,500? But Hassan Piker had to go there because he's a phony. Oh, boy. That is just great. I love it. Meanwhile, here's Hassan Piker saying, despite the fact that he's a socialist, well, we got to kill all the capitalist pigs. I guess like Hassan Piker, who's made millions off his ridiculous podcast that, as you heard, very difficult to listen to. Cut number 3, go.
Well, my understanding is that the property owners who have properties there choose just not to rent it at all.
Yeah, kill them. Kill those and murder those.
Oh, and then you spent $6,500 on bad angle seats, apparently. Bad vantage point. And then they wouldn't even put you up in the Jumbotron. Oh, poor you. I spent $6,500 on tickets. Kill all the capitalist pigs. Until they don't put me on the Jumbotron with Taylor Swift and Ben Stiller. Oh, that was glorious. Anyway. This is the Joe Concha Show. We're back with so much more, I promise you, in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
So, as mentioned before, J.D. Vance, the vice president, will be on The View here in New York City on Tuesday. He has a book to promote about Christianity and how it saved him. All right, well, given his upbringing, given that the fact that his mother was obviously a drug addict, alcoholic, just a very broken home, different men coming through, abusive men, and he could have done two things. J.D. Vance could have. At 17, 18, when he graduated high school. feel sorry for myself and join that club that so many of my mother's boyfriends and my mother herself is in. Just, take drugs and escape and ease the pain, right? And kill myself in the process. Or join the Marines. And J.D. Vance was mature enough at 18 to join the Marines, which he did. Finished his entire training, his tour, the whole thing. Then after that, said, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to go to college now. So he went to his home state, Ohio State University. Now, in college, it usually takes 4 years to graduate. J.D. Vance did it in just over 2, half the time. Wow. Then says, you know what? I think I want to go to law school. So goes to Yale, up in Connecticut. Wow. Great stuff. And he joins the Yale Law Review, heads that, actually, and then graduates from Yale. Wow. Great story already. Then decides, hey, I think I'll write a book about my life, which was made into a movie that Ron Howard, the great Ron Howard, had directed. Right? Glenn Close was one of the stars of this movie, Hillbilly Elegy, best-selling book, and a very successful movie at the box office. All right, wow. Things are going well. Then says, you know what? Nah, that's not good enough. I think I'll run for senator of Ohio, my home state. And he goes in and he wins quite easily. Then, because he was so effective in terms of interviews, in terms of just his story, that Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. push their dad, who was probably leaning towards Marco Rubio. And again, at the time, total transparency, I'm on Fox saying it. I thought Marco Rubio was the best choice for vice president. And then he chooses J.D. Vance instead. And it turns out that that was a great decision. Obviously, Marco may be better as Secretary of State and all the other jobs that he has at this point. And they get along swimmingly as far as Marco and J.D. So here we are, J.D. Vance, now going to go on The View, where it's going to be, trust me, all weekend. Producers there will be writing questions for Whoopi or for Joy, for Ana Navarro or anybody else on that show, which literally they're going to have to read from index cards, and maybe they have to remember it themselves, right? The bottom line is that he is going to do quite well. As I've said before, I'll say it again. And here's why. Here he is on CBS with Margaret Brennan, who obviously is a Democratic hack, posing as a journalist. And this is the way he handles this question on illegal immigration. Cut number 7, go.
Well, this is a country founded by immigrants.
Well, this is a country founded by...
country.
This is a very unique country, and it was founded by some immigrants and some settlers. But just because we were founded by immigrants doesn't mean that 240 years later that we have to have the dumbest immigration policy in the world.
Get ready, Joy, Whoopi, and Anna, because that guy is coming there, and trust me, he's going to look as adult and as mature and as funny and as the statesman that he is, and they're going to look like children. I guarantee you, when this thing is all said and done, people say, why go on there? And sometimes I question it. In terms of some Republican lawmakers, J.D. Vance is equipped for this, believe me, and that will be must-see TV. It's going to be the highest-rated View of all time. Save the tape. When we get the numbers on Thursday, that's about 6 days from now. Trust me, I'll do my little end zone dance, but that's not exactly a prediction that's, I'm going out on a limb or anything like that. Hey, I don't think the Jets are going to make the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's not exactly a prediction that you want to, hang your hat on because it's that easy. Meanwhile, here is Tony Hinchcliffe, who is a comedian who was at Madison Square Garden, you may remember. October 27, 2024, I was there, a Trump rally. It was like a mini RNC where you had J.D. Vance speaking, obviously the president, and then candidate Donald Trump speaking, Melania Trump speaking, Tucker Carlson speaking, Dr. Oz speaking, Dr. Phil speaking, a lot of doctors. Who else was there? Dana White, Hulk Hogan. It was like the RNC all squeezed into one night. And Tony Hinchcliffe was a comedian that they hired. He was on like 5 hours before Trump came on. I wasn't even there when he was there. I showed up about 2 hours before the president came on. I had to do a stand-up which means, some analysis for Fox on literally what's called The Bridge at Madison Square Garden. That was pretty exciting. But here is Tony Hinchcliffe. Now, remember, he's the guy who said that Puerto Rico has a trash problem, made a joke about it. And then our stupid news media thought that before the election that enough Puerto Ricans would change their vote from Trump to Kamala because of a joke that Trump had nothing to do with. I mean, it was bizarre stuff. It's all in my book. Come on, man. But anyway, here's Tony Hinchcliffe on the state of not Puerto Rico, but San Francisco in cut number 16. Go.
Do you guys live here in San Francisco? What a hole.
Oh,
it's actually worse than a hole.
Wow.
You can actually use a hole here to put the into.
Wow.
That's on the streets. A hole would be an actual upgrade. It used to be so beautiful here. You guys remember the intro to Full House? That house is still full because 23 Somalians live in it now.
Oh. See, that's great. That's very good stuff. That is San Fran, though. I went there 2007. Saw Mets, actually. The Mets were in town. The 24 hours I was in San Francisco. And they played the Giants, obviously. Beautiful park, by the way. Beautiful park. But from what you see now, literally kids walking by, homeless people who look like they're dead going to elementary school. Here's the stat to end all stats. There are more dogs and cats in San Francisco than children at this point. Think about that. A lot of single, lonely, angry people. The home of Nancy Pelosi. Once a shining city, like literally, you hear about the shining city on the hill, like San Francisco was like a jewel, a gorgeous city. And now it's, if you're going on, if you're local, go down to Seaside Heights sometime, which I went to like in the 80s when we were on vacation. And I loved it. I thought it was a glorious place. And it's still like you go on the boardwalk. There is some nostalgia there, but outside of the boardwalk, you go 1 or 2 blocks away from the boardwalk. It is a drug den. Every hotel, just, you don't want to go within 50 yards of. And just, the town is just completely and totally like a skeleton of itself. That's San Fran in New Jersey. I know it's a weird comparison, but it's kind of the same thing. Drugs, homelessness, and just incompetence from Democrats running that city have led San Francisco to where it is and why it is the joke that it is at this point. Meanwhile, Seinfeld, we played before, as far as yesterday, I should say. He was walking out of MSG after the Knicks came back from that 29-point deficit, obviously walking basically on clouds at that point, like couldn't be happier. Again, Seinfeld is 72 years old, if you want to really feel old, 72. So he was around, I guess, for the Knicks' last championship in 73. With Clyde and with Bill Bradley and Monroe and so on. And you know, what a great victory. But again, most of us listening probably weren't alive or just barely remember it. So Seinfeld was probably a young man at that point. And here he is with the Knicks on the verge of an NBA championship, one more to go. I think it's going to be a tough one more to go, but we talked about that earlier. But on the way out, a guy sticks a microphone in Seinfeld's face and says, "Can you tell us, Seinfeld, can you say free Palestine?" And at one point, Seinfeld laughs. And then when the guy keeps pressing, he goes, "Palestine doesn't exist." That hurt. Anyway, here's Ilhan Omar heard about this, and she is not happy at all. Cut number 14, go.
See you.
Good to see you.
Hey, Jerry Seinfeld has said again last night, Palestine doesn't exist. Do you think that's dangerous rhetoric for someone with such a big platform?
I think Jerry Seinfeld has been really horrific human being and an example when it comes to talking about the reality of the genocide that Israel has carried out.
Oh, God. Jerry Seinfeld's the horrible human being. Ilhan Omar, though, no, not at all. Donald Trump had some thoughts on this, and here he is in cut number, let's see, 119, go.
Kind of immigrants that you do want to see in America?
Well, they certainly contribute. Yeah, I want to see people. Yeah, I want to see people that contribute. I don't want to see Somalia. I don't want to see a woman that marries her brother to get in and then becomes a congressman, does nothing but complain. All she does is complain, and yet her country's a mess. It's one of the worst in the world. Let her go back, fix up her own country.
Well, he's right? I mean, here you have Ilhan Omar comes to this country, runs for Congress, represents Minnesota, and has yet to pass one piece of legislation that actually makes the lives of her constituents in her district any better. So if you're going to complain so much, maybe, I don't know, instead of not helping the country, go back to Somalia, where you seem to have your allegiance to, and help fix that country, which is obviously one of the worst countries in the world. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has a birthday coming up on June 14th. That would be, 2 days from now on Sunday. He's going to turn 80. And again, when you turn a certain age, you're not happy about it. It's funny because I had friends when they turned 40 were like, oh my, it's the big 4-0. Oh, I'm getting so old. Well, you'd kill to be 40 when you're 80. Here's Trump, obviously, talking to Dr. Oz here, who has a birthday today, as a matter of fact. And, when you turn 80, it's not something you want to be like, hey, let's throw a party. Even Trump, who throws parties all the time, cut 17, go.
But I want to just wish you a happy birthday, and you don't have to wish me a happy birthday because I'm not happy about that birthday that I'm having. That's a number that I never thought really too much about. It's not a number I like, but I'm here nevertheless.
Well, I'll follow your orders. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Just walked out of the Oval Office, which is back there. And this is the new construction for the big fight this weekend. President's
I think we're good there, Elias.
My birthday.
Anyway, yeah, 80. Wow. I'm pretty far away from that, but if I were Trump in that situation, I'm still playing golf, I'm running the country and traveling with the way I am and speaking to all the people I do. I mean, not a bad way to be 80, which, again, I always go back to this. You look at certain movies, like The Natural, for example, and you had Wilford Brimley, who played Pops. He was the manager in that 1984 classic with Robert Redford. And Pops, at the time, was considered like he's old. He's got to win one championship. He's always had horrible teams. And Roy Hobbs, played by Redford, can get them, at least the Knights, New York Knights, to the promised land and give Pops that one championship, that one moment where he could say all this managing, all these years has been worth it. And then you realize that when that movie was filmed, Wilford Brimley, who looks older than Trump does now, Trump's going to be 80 in 2 days. Wilford Brimley looks 85, 90 years old in that movie. And then you're like, oh, wow. The person who plays Pops, Wilford Brimley, was actually 49 years old when The Natural was filmed. Cocoon, he was only 50. Again, about old people finding the fountain of youth. Think about that for a moment. And then The Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi, is called the old man, right? Grandpa, throughout the movie by his adversaries. And when they filmed that, Pat Morita, who played Mr. Miyagi, was 51 years old. I swear he looks older than Trump does now. It's a different world, right? You watch Tom Cruise in Top Gun Maverick. The guy is 60 years old. He looks almost younger than he did in the original Top Gun, which was in June of 1986. And then you look at Brad Pitt in F1. The guy's 62. He looks 34. There is hope for us men. Believe me. If that's the way things are going in terms of, I don't know, the way we eat or different cosmetics, like I don't know. I get they're Hollywood and they can manipulate things to a certain extent, but boy, we are lucky to be living in the time we are. Think of the people. I'll leave it here before we go to break. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. The original one with Gene Wilder. The best one. The only one. The scene in the beginning with the grandparents all sitting in the house. They can't leave the bed. They're too old. The people that played the grandparents who couldn't leave the bed, except for Uncle Joe, right? Who eventually was able to go to the factory with Charlie. They were all in their early 50s. And they look like they're 95 years old. Again, we live in a different world. As somebody in his 50s like me, there is hope that the back nine is still very far away. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Show. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. So, Ken Griffin, he is the CEO of Citadel. That's a pretty big company. They were going to actually have this whole beautiful facility, nice hub, second headquarters for Citadel on Park Avenue, 345, I believe, to be exact in terms of the address. Well, $6 billion spent, tens of thousands of jobs created, high-paying jobs, by the way. If you're Zohran Mamdani, this is a gift. Like, wow, investment in New York City? No. Instead, this guy, Mamdani, has to go in front of Ken Griffin's penthouse on Park Avenue to dox him and then say, hey, Ken Griffin, I'm going to raise your taxes out the wazoo. And guess what Ken Griffin did? He announced today that he will now take this project, all $6 billion of it, all those construction jobs and all those permanent jobs and all those businesses that could have benefited around this particular hub for Citadel. It's now going to Miami, Florida. You know Miami. You know Florida. That's the place where there are no state income taxes. And soon, there'll be no property taxes as well, because that state is run by a competent person in Ron DeSantis. Well, let's do the flashback, shall we? This is cut number 10. Zohran Mamdani, so proud of himself that he was going to announce that he's going to tax Ken Griffin, and there's nothing he can do about it. Oh, except there is something Ken Griffin can do about it. That is leave. Cut number 10, go.
Well, today, we're taxing the rich. Like for this penthouse, which hedge fund CEO Ken Griffin bought for $238 million.
It was creepy and weird.
Agreed.
I mean, like, knock on the window. This has gone from creepy to actually not really creepy. This has gone frightening. What the mayor of New York has made clear to my partners, and principally my New York partners, is that we need to double down on our bet in Miami.
There you go. Good night. Bye-bye. And he won't be the only one, Ken Griffin. Remember Amazon, AOC, made sure they didn't come here either for their second headquarters. 25,000 jobs never came. At a pay scale, on average, of $150,000. Built in Queens, right in AOC's district. She was handed a gift, and she chased it away just like Mamdani did. Is everybody understanding how destructive these people are to New York's economy? And the tax revenue is going bye-bye. There won't be a bailout next time like Mamdani got from Kathy Hochul. That we certainly do know. Before we go, Whoopi Goldberg mocks religious participation rising among young men. This is so obnoxious on every level. Cut number 20, go.
Welcome back. Now, apparently some feel that Americans are getting more socially conservative, according to a new Gallup survey. Results found that fewer people condone pregnancy outside of marriage and the use of birth control and even gambling. An article in The Independent points to factors like the administration's focus on Christianity and limiting access to contraception, along with a sharp rise in young men finding religion. Wow. What would you make of this shift?
That's weird. That's a really weird take. Oh, no. Young men are finding religion? That's not a good thing? Not in Whoopi Goldberg's world, that's certainly for sure. Anyway, this has been the Joe Concha Show. We're back on Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, on WABC and on stations around the country, around the world. Until then, 2 words for you. Bye-bye.